Is it possible that there is a lizard man in Scape Swamp?
Just like Bigfoot, I think we might have more than one.
Well, you got to figure if this thing exists, where did it come from? What's it a part of?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I don't think that's a huge coincidence that you have a lizard man, Chris Davis said, claims was 7 foot, 8 foot tall.
Two directions we can go. The science experiment. The Genesis 6 theory.
You have all these Bigfoots running around. Every one I've heard 7.5 feet to 9 feet tall. Welcome to the Lantern Podcast, episode 6. We are going all things Lizardmania here, just like Hulkamania back in the 80s. This is actually our first cryptid that we are covering. He's actually my most favorite. It is the Lizard Man of Scape Swamp. As always, I'm joined by Twisted Todd and our executive producer, Easy. Todd first came to know the Lizard Man, I believe, in middle school. Right, Todd?
Right. Yeah, and I remember when I first heard about it, I was like, wow, South Carolina has its own Bigfoot because now we have Lizard Man. So it was just kind of crazy.
I probably was around 10 years old when Lizard Man struck havoc on the state. It happened in the summer of 1988. The entire Grand Strand, and if folks aren't familiar, the Grand Strand is the Myrtle Beach area. This place came to life. I mean, it was Lizardmania. There were T-shirts printed. I actually had, my sister brought me a T-shirt back that said, "I survived the Lizard Man." And I'll never forget, it was a yellow shirt. I thought it was the coolest kid in school. He had a tire. He was standing in the middle of a swamp. And I was proud. You know, and I'm not going to say it's a little bit different because the way we get news today is completely different versus the way we got news in 1988. Because I remember going through shag carpet with the window units blaring because we were poor, you know, by every stretch of imagination here. So we were only able to cool one room of the house. So that was typically the gathering spot for the family. So we would all go into the living room. The heat would be on cremate. We would gather in the shag carpet. I would have to wade through the shag carpet to go up to the TV, careful not to touch it because I didn't want to be electrocuted. And I had to turn the dial on top of the TV, and then therefore the antenna on top of the house turned. So as long as our antenna was pointed to the south, we actually got WIS News 10. I remember for like 2 months straight, the Lizard Man was on every news outlet there was. The Lizard Man sighting here, the Lizard Man there. But this is almost 30 years ago, right? Almost 40 years ago, right, Izzy? Almost 40?
Yeah.
1988.
Yeah, 36 years.
Yeah, I'm 31, guys. So 92 would be 30 years as of, 2 years ago? Yeah, I'm going on 32.
Yep.
Oh, no.
The Lizard Man could almost be your daddy, right? You know, that's
Oh.
how far we go back.
That's what the pause was, John?
But this is what I do. I do want to point out this. Almost 40 years ago, I mean, he was the hottest thing going in the state. I have done numerous articles on him. I actually read my original article on YouTube maybe 2 years ago about the Lizard Man. It's almost like every few years you kind of drop off. You hear nothing about him. And I remember when the solar eclipse happened, and I think maybe the government put something out. Be cautious that you may see the lizard man again. I'm thinking, okay, what the hell does the government know about the lizard man?
Yeah,
Um,
that's weird.
for
That's
the
very weird.
people like it's very weird. For people like Izzy, Todd, you and I, we remember the lizard man very well. For people like Izzy, or the people that had recently moved into the state or moved into the state after 1988, we kind of need to go back to tell the story. So I'm going to let Izzy, I sent Izzy a couple articles. Won't you give our viewers and listeners, bring them up to speed of exactly who is the lizard man and why are we talking about him in 2024?
Yeah, absolutely. Because as John, I believe you stated on the record, that, yeah, he is South Carolina's Bigfoot. I don't remember if you said that or not, but it is true. South
I did.
Carolina. Yeah, well, there we go then. South Carolina folklore, the 36th anniversary of the Lizard Man. The Lizard Man has been a part of South Carolina folklore since he first burst onto the scene in the summer of 1988, devouring car parts, chasing unsuspecting motorists on a dark, lonely stretch of road in Scape or Swamp, preying on local livestock while becoming a national media darling that lit the airwaves on fire. His rampage through South Carolina countryside near Bishopville, provoking anxiety, anger, and terror, is legendary. Ironically, the annual Lizard Man Stomp is this Saturday in Bishopville. If you happen to be in the area, stop by. Lizardmania started when a 17-year-old Chris Davis left his restaurant job stopping for a flat tire. After repairing it, he saw the creature walking toward him when Davis jumped in his car and began to drive away, but soon was on top of the vehicle, leading Davis to hit the brakes, causing it to roll off. It was not long before other reports began to surface, describing the beast and his rampage left behind. But was Chris Davis the first encounter with the lizard-like creature? According to online reports, a bicyclist first spotted the lizard man a year before in 1987. The frenzy allowed many around the state to cash in on his popularity. The debate continues almost 36 years later if the lizard man was just a figment of a teenager's imagination that sparked at the right time, or if something did emerge from the swamp under the beautiful crescent moon on that night that forever changed South Carolina folklore. It is not up to us to decide, but rather report since the anniversary is fast approaching. Do you remember?
Thank you, Izzy.
You're welcome.
One thing I want to point out, we do our research at the Lantern.
Mm-hmm.
We go over and beyond. We go over and beyond for our readers. We just don't put stuff out just to hear ourselves or see our writings online. And that's one thing I have said multiple times, and I bring this up to everyone I talk to, when they're like, John, I love the Lantern. I really enjoy reading your articles. Izzy does a fantastic job, this and that. And we go online. We research. We just don't take one article that we see online and state that as fact. We dig. I believe that I was the first one, Izzy, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm the first one to actually found that a bicyclist actually encountered the lizard man a year before in Scape or Swamp, before he burst on the scene on top of Chris Davis's hood that summer night. I want to point that out. A lot of people laughs and does laughing emojis when we talk about the lizard man. And I don't get it. I don't understand it. Unfortunately, Chris Davis passed away, I believe, back in 2009. So it's not like we can reach out to him to get any additional comments or anything along those lines. There is something about the lizard man that has been stuck with us since I'm gonna say 1987. Okay, there's just a aura around him that every few years he pops back up. Lizardmania. So, Izzy, do you have the map? Because I get a question a lot. People ask me a lot. Where in the hell is Scape or Swamp? Do you have that by chance?
Oh, yeah. You did send it to me, didn't you? I do have
I
it.
did. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there
So,
any way you could pop that up?
no, but with a little bit of post production magic, I will do that now.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir.
I do want to point out Izzy and I went to Sumter and Camden on July 4th weekend 2024. It was the hottest day on record. I call him ACDC Back in Black because when Izzy showed up at my house, Todd, he was dressed completely black shirt, black pants. I walk out and I had yellow shorts, blue shirt because I knew it was going to be like the heat was going to be on cremate in South Carolina. Right? We walk around Camden. This guy right here lost probably about 20 pounds in water weight in a day by just walking the streets. That's how hot it was. We jumped back in the car. We were thankful for that. What was it, Izzy? A 30-minute commute down to Sumter just so we could sit in front of the air conditioner all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
On this particular day, we didn't go through Scape or Swamp, but we did go hit a lot of other places down in Sumter. Scape or Swamp is a place. So if you're coming down the interstate and you're leaving Florence, I-20, I believe, and you're going back to Columbia, you are still 30 minutes away from Scape or Swamp off of the interstate. So you see all these signs that says Sumter, this and that. No, you've got to get off and you got to drive all the way down. It's like 30, 35 minutes. It's in the middle of nowhere. I'm asking, is it possible? Is it possible? Because I talked to a gentleman last week who swears up and down he has saw Bigfoot about 5 times. Is it possible that there is a lizard man in Scape or Swamp?
Oh, okay. I have probably an unpopular theory for a couple of reasons. Yes, I do believe that. However, just like Bigfoot, I think we might have more than one. It would not surprise me in the least if there were more than one walking around somewhere in the swamp.
Well, you got to figure if this thing exists, where did it come from? What's it a part of?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Because there's two directions we can go. And neither of them are rational to, like, the secularist, right, Todd? And this is where we're going to get off on a little bit of a Bible tangent. But hey, you know what? We're in the Bible Belt, right? You can't separate that from South Carolina. One is the science experiment. It coming from a lab. We have a lab leak theory. And the other is, like that of Bigfoot, like that of our little fellas in the skies, we have something I have coined as the Genesis 6 theory. So, yes, John, I will make this quick. Jump in wherever you guys would like.
Well, you don't have to make it quick, Izzy. I mean,
okay. Well, fair enough. Okay, so here's because I don't want to jump into this too much because I get so excited with this. But hear me out, guys. Like that of any other cryptid, when you think of mermaids, when you think of Well, I mean, anything that's like half human, half anything. You have like the half human, half bull, also known as the Minotaur. You have the half human, half freaking snake, also known as the politician. The point is, what we have is something where the sons of God in Genesis 6, these angelic beings coming down and wreaking havoc. And what's interesting is if we look at an extra biblical source, it digs a little deeper into it. It's called the Book of Enoch. And Enoch chapter 6, ironically, talks about the sons of God wanting, gets them by name, but wanting the women as wives. And as it continues, it starts to talk about these Nephilim, these half human, half angelic monstrosities, these abominations, thinning against, whatever that means, the fish of the sea, the reptiles, the other animals. What the hell are they doing with these animals? We don't know. Thinning against can be a number of things. I personally believe, like father, like son. Whatever wanted to create the first abomination went on to create other abominations. I mean, and aren't we kind of doing that now? We have laws against cloning and gene splicing. We don't know. I'm just saying that from like the heavenly host all the way down to the earth, somewhere in the middle between our two theories, something wacky enough to make a half man, half lizard.
It jumped on the guy's. It jumped on the guy's roof of his car, so it did kind of like rain down from the heavens, right? Even though he saw it running. Okay, I'm going to go in my mindset. I just got off from my restaurant job. I'm driving through Scape Swamp, Todd. Okay, 1988. Okay. You have Panama Jacks in there. You have Hardee's Big Moose Cups. The California Raisins are still beating their drum and their trumpets and this and that. And then you have to stop in Scape Swamp, which is this just very dark place. I mean, even today, you don't have street lights in this area. Okay, there's no cell phones. Okay. Izzy, I appreciate you bringing that up, and that is a valid point of where I'm going with this.
Okay.
This guy gets out to change the tire. In a moment of time, he sees this guy, and I'm going to assume it's a guy, like running at him in a matter of as soon as he got the tire on his car, right? He jumps in the car in a panic. Okay, I can imagine being a teenager, seeing. First of all, I can imagine being stuck in Scape Swamp of all places. Maybe Hellhole Swamp of South Carolina is another place, and it's a real place called Hellhole Swamp. Don't ask me where we come up with these names. This damn thing takes off running. It looks like Tyreek Hill running at you with the speed wise, that fast. And I can only use Tyreek Hill because that's how fast that guy is. And apparently this is how fast the Lizardman closed. I mean, could you imagine if he played for the Panthers? I mean, this guy could be making millions. He leaps on top of this guy's car. And the first thing this kid thinks about is he's speeding up and he just hits the brakes and this damn thing rolls over. Badoop, 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 badoop. He gets away. Okay? 1988. As I said earlier, you don't have the internet. Word doesn't travel. It was within weeks. I believe the old sheriff in Sumter even came out and believed the Lizardman was real because there were other reports that surfaced about car parts being devoured on cars. Okay? Your standard poodle is not going over eating bumpers off of cars. Okay? There's one gentleman, I think it later became a hoax, said he was flying a crop plane over and he saw the Lizardman run out and look at him. What was that movie? M. Night Shyamalan?
Oh, Signs.
They had millions. Signs.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't know about you, but when that damn thing came out and it just hit you, the alien, I always thought a whopper was going to take me out, right? From my heart fluttering so much. I thought a heart attack in a sack was going to take me out, but M. Night Shyamalan almost took me out.
Yeah, it scared the hell out of me when I first saw that.
Izzy, you are exactly right. That's why I said earlier, I don't know why we get so many laughing emojis. Just because when we state a place is haunted, Todd, we get people to come out and they're familiar with this place. All of a sudden, they become these paranormal enthusiasts and they know everything about the paranormal world. Well, I can tell you one thing, that place isn't haunted. Well, how you know that? I've been going there for damn 80 years and nothing's ever happened to me. Just because it's never happened to you doesn't mean it's not haunted. Just because you never saw the lizard man doesn't mean the lizard man doesn't walk in Scape or Swamp. What you guys think?
Yeah.
Well, I got a couple things. First, you're talking about where we get the names of places. I, no joke, actually went to a Baptist church in Sugartit. Thank God it was not called Sugartit First Baptist, or I wouldn't have made it through.
Mhm.
So
That's
that's
fair.
to one of your point. And then what Izzy was saying about the whole experiment thing, I think I've touched on this before. The one thing I do think is possibly a thing is a chupacabra, because there's been so many pictures and even carcasses of this thing, and to me it just looks like some kind of inbreeding of some kind of mongrel dog, because it's I don't know, it just looks disgusting, and it's just one of those things that you never know what could have happened genetically, what kind of crossing, or even, as Izzy was saying, a science experiment that could have resulted in this.
Izzy,
Hmm?
we have brought up, when was it? Last week, we brought up the Beast of Bladensboro, I believe, and we brought up the Hellhound of Valley Crucis.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Does the Lizard Man outside, okay, the Lizard Man has his own look. When I talked to that gentleman last week, and he said, and I asked him because I was actually interviewing him for my book. It was about a different subject. It wasn't about Bigfoot. I asked him, I said, how tall when you saw Bigfoot, how tall was Bigfoot? He says 7.5 to 8 feet tall. Okay. Our listeners, I want to point this out that I have talked to some reputable people who have claimed to see Bigfoot. Law enforcement. Okay. These aren't people that are just going to go around and lie for the hell of it. The Lizard Man's height has been reportedly been 7.5 to 8 foot tall. I don't think that's a huge coincidence that you have a Lizard Man that Chris Davis said claims was 7 foot, 8 foot tall. You have all these Bigfoots running around. Every one I've heard 7.5 feet to 9 feet tall. The Beast in Bladensboro, I mean, that's interesting. We'll cover that later. The Hellhound of Valley Crucis. I just think that when you get in these places, these remote areas, we hear every day about. I think in America we take a lot of this stuff for granted because we do have the internet. We do have a way to get the news. There's a lot of remote places still in America that we don't know a whole hell of a lot about.
Yeah, it's
Um,
kind of a mystery.
I don't believe in coincidence anyway. I just don't. And like I said, I made the joke of like father, like son. I mean, if we were to believe that, by the way, the Christians that believe anything about the Book of Enoch, by the way, Jude quotes it. Just saying. So I believe there's, take it with a grain of salt. But he read it. I think we should read it. But I find it extraordinary that when we look at this, we're not the only ones. The Christians are not the only ones that think whether or not, whether you want to call them aliens, whether you want to call them angels, whether you want to call them gods, whatever you want to call them, we're not the only ones that believe that something outside of our stratosphere messes with creation. You have something called the Anunnaki, these godlike humanoids that come down and start making their own creation. There's a whole sect of people who believe in this stuff. The Ancient Aliens crowd, right? They believe in this stuff. So that to me, I mean, and then you start getting into, for anyone scholarly, Michael Heiser or people who get into the L.A. Marzulli crowd. This stuff is scary, man. I mean, there's people who, yes, they have seen this stuff. And there are people along the Bible Belt that have bumped into this stuff, and they are scared as hell to talk about it because they would be ridiculed by their own congregation. It's part of the reason I'm a paranormal investigator. I like the weird stuff of the Bible. I pay attention to it.
They don't want to talk about it. I mean, we were in the Bible Belt. About 4 years later after the Lizardman, I was in Myrtle Beach, and I'm just bringing this up. Ken Register is serving. He committed a crime in Conway. He raped and killed this woman. It's the first case where DNA was used in America. Did you know that?
No.
And I can't remember how many people they went through, and they finally used this new thing called DNA, and they linked Ken Register, who was a great friend of this lady's, to the crime. And I listened to his lawyer talk about that we were in the Bible Belt, and he had to keep using the Bible Belt to. It wasn't a question if this guy was guilty or not. We all knew what he did because DNA linked him to it, and I don't know if he later confessed. I think he did, or he may not. But the lawyer kept going back and saying, okay, this is the Bible Belt, and this is basically, we knew we did it, but we didn't want the guy to go to the electric chair, and we didn't want him to fry for it. So we made an appeal to the jurors, and we touched at their emotional heartstrings and their biblical heartstrings, and that's how we basically saved Ken Register. This guy, I think, is 49 years old today. A few years later, I met a couple from Conway, and I brought up Ken Register, and the guy said, that's a name I hadn't heard in years. I think as Southerners sometimes, like you said, in the Bible Belt, just like Susan Smith, she's up for parole next month. I think sometimes we like to sweep this stuff under the mat. We don't talk about it, but I do want to go back to one thing. Todd, you're riding through Scape or Swamp. What would you do if you actually saw the Lizardman jump on the hood of your car?
I would slam on brakes and hope that thing went flying.
Is he?
I don't.
We don't have that.
Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. I would hate to imagine going toe to toe with Reptile from Mortal Kombat because I'm gonna get my ass kicked. But when you guys know,
I should have asked him because when the next episode drops, everybody in Camden is going to be after me because he just let one of those haunted dolls all over Camden. We don't even know where the hell that haunted doll is.
Oh, yeah.
Like Chucky Jr., right? But by the way, when that episode comes out, everybody's going to know that Chucky is now somewhere in Camden, and Skateboard Swamp's not too far from Camden, right? And I think you're also the one that told me that. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I know paranormal groups that will take their haunted dolls that they like to collect and then bring them into paranormal places to get an even bigger response, which I don't know why you would do that. You know, a dummy plus a dummy equals another dummy, but to each their own.
They have a festival for the Lizardman down near Skateboard Swamp. What's really interesting is these people are proud, okay, and because they want to keep the spirit of the Lizardman going, because the Spirit Man the Lizardman is a part of their spirit. It's not only a part of South Carolina, but it's a part of Bishopville.
Mm-hmm.
And that festival goes every year. It was, what is it, Lizardman Stomp, Izzy?
I believe so, yeah.
Well, and Izzy was touching on a little bit earlier, and I was going to geek out, but he talked about how, there could be more than one. And when you start getting more than one, you're talking about it like a new species. And we were geeking out with Mortal Kombat a minute ago, and the question that's been on my mind for forever now is, as far as Star Wars goes, we now have Yoda, we now have Grogu. What the hell is that species? When are they ever going to tell us? I've never heard a name for that alien race. You would think by now they would have something for that.
Frieza shows up, we're screwed.
Is
Well,
what?
I'm a walk. What you say, Izzy?
I said, Frieza shows up, we're screwed.
Oh yeah.
I'm a huge Walking Dead fanatic. It sounds like if the Lizard Man showed up, I want to be Negan. I want to have that baseball bat, and I don't even know if a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire could take out the Lizard Man.
I don't know. He gets that combo on you, you're done for, man. He gets a hold of you. That's it.
When it's serious, well, you're talking about a creature that you know nothing about. So I mean, I would get as far away from that as I possibly could, because you don't know what kind of strength it's going to have. And of course, like you're talking about, it's eating bumpers and stuff. So if things
Yeah.
eat bumpers, I can only imagine what's going to do to me.
Right. Well,
That was an appetizer.
Guys, I want to bring this up because my dad and I watched 2 werewolf movies back to back. We watched the Wolfman remake from 2010, which is a damn good remake. And then right after that, it happened to throw American Werewolf in London at us. And it was just
one of the best.
Yeah, it's just amazing to see this, because American Werewolf in London actually references the Wolfman, ironically. And when you look at how everyone's describing the creature as the protagonist of the story, both stories, again, watch them back to back, the same layout. He's coming to terms with what he is, doesn't know what to do with it. And then everyone around the creature that witnesses it doesn't describe it as a man, they describe it as a wolf, a really big wolf, a monstrosity, some sort of something. So are people describing the lizard man more of a giant lizard or more of a man?
So this is what I want to say. Okay. Remember, when was it? 2017, we was going to have the total blackout solar eclipse. And I don't know if the South Carolina government or of safety or whatever was just joking around, but they said this solar eclipse could stir up the lizard man. Okay, this could be a tourism. Okay, this could be a tourism play. But in the back of my mind, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, if your job is for safety of South Carolinians, and I know the lizard man is a South Carolina cryptid, are you really going to put that out there? Because we have a lot of people that is going to say, holy hell, the lizard man is going to be more active this time, right? And in my mind, I laughed. I had a good chuckle off of that. Thank you, South Carolina, for the good chuckle, using my taxpayer dollars, this and that, so you can build more interest off the lizard man. But was there something behind it? My question is the lizard man real? Is he there? That's one thing we're never going to know, just like Bigfoot. Bigfoot's just not going to walk out of the woods off the Highway 11 one day like, you got me. I'm the hide and seek champion of the world. Ha, ha, ha. It was a damn good run for 150 years. And, I'm going to take this pack of, Coors Light, and I'm going to drink it and shotgun it like Stone Cold Steve Austin in your face, right? He's just not going to do it. But I do want to say that he is our poster child. Just like Bigfoot, just like some of these other ones that they have. Thank God we have an identity in South Carolina. Summer 1988 of 1988, it was controlled by Big Hair. Remember, Todd?
Oh, yeah.
Women had big hair. Even the rockers had big hair. Poison, all of it, right? It was controlled by
Aquanet.
Just right. I mean, so I can still smell 1988 like it was yesterday. I still remember when this guy the Lizardman. I keep calling him a guy. He could be a girl. Please don't protest me. Protest Izzy when you find out next week that he unleashed the hell doll on you down in Camden. It was him, folks, not me. I'm
never
always
going to
back
let
again.
that go.
I'm not gonna let it go. I'm not gonna let it go because the people in Camden's not gonna be mad at me. You know, they're gonna be mad at you, not me. I love Camden. Great folks. And of course, Todd, you're always welcome, Camden. But once they learn what he did, maybe not so much. I'm just joking. I'm joking. The Lizard Man has been with us 1988. I'm doing the math in my head. 36 years later, he's not going away. It's time for the people of this state, South Carolina. I've said on the lantern. I've said on here. We need legend and lore markers. It's like every day, Todd, just like this week, I talked to a lady not far from me for a chapter in my book, not the gentleman I talked to that told me about Bigfoot. Every day we are learning more and more about these places being sold, more and more about places that nobody wants to talk about. She and I talked about a school down in Prosperity, about the haunted history behind it, how there's a librarian and there's a little African American girl that haunts the Head Start school down in Prosperity. It's coming in my book. Why is it just in 2024 I'm hearing about this stuff? Yes, the Lizard Man, don't do laughing emojis. It really upsets me when people does that. Every day we are learning more and more about this state. There's places we know nothing about right here in America. The Lizard Man, it's time for the people of South Carolina to embrace them even more. And can you imagine the tourism dollars of South Carolina just got behind it from a government standpoint? Could you imagine what we could do for our legend and lores in this state?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody loves, a tale like that, folklore, just anything, dabbling with the supernatural. I mean, why not?
I remember Lizardmania like it was yesterday. I don't have the shirt anymore. Hell, if I did, I couldn't fit in it. Well, hell, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Hell, I don't know, Todd. I might be able to fit in. I only weigh 200 pounds, right? I was a chubby kid. Everything back then felt good. All the way down from being in Myrtle Beach, going to Hardee's, the California Raisins, hell, even the Lizard Man. It felt real to me, and it still feels real to me. I want the people that comes to this state, I want them to love this state as much as I do.
And a lot of people have been moving here over the last couple of years, so it's good to inform the people moving here too. There's a lot to love about this place.
Let's get some Lizard Man costumes going. Let's bring it back.
Get some Lizard Man merch, guys. We got to get some merch.
Yes, Izzy, you need to put that down. We are going to re-release the I Survived Lizard Man 2025 when they come out shirts.
You better believe I'd wear a Lizard Man for President shirt.
Well, some people had Hulkamania. We had Lizardmania. Guys, thank you for joining us this week. Izzy, take us home.
Yes, guys, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, follow us on Patreon. We have a ton of free stuff there. And if you want to continue supporting us there, or for those of you just hopping in, yes, support us by following us on Patreon. And there's a lot of exclusive stuff there. And newsletter. Get to our newsletter on our website. We got content we're putting there all the time. Oh, and comment for the algorithm. Comment.
And don't forget to follow Izzy on OnlyFans too.
Ah, no, wait a minute.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Lantern Podcast number 6. We are out.